Design in games can sometimes be a challenging endeavor, especially when it comes to balance in a competitive arena. Asymmetrical gameplay harbors the most depth when it comes to such balance, and fairness is paramount to ensure an even playing field. The incorporation of random number generators, or RNG, can be a fickle topic of discussion when it comes to fairness, placing a percentage chance on whether something succeeds or doesn't. Much like gambling, but to the gamer's credit, most of the time they don't stand to lose as much. I've been playing a depressing amount of Dota 2 recently, and this game has a multitude of RNG elements which impact the outcome of many situations. Now, if you're not familiar with Dota 2, it is becoming one of the largest esports in the world, with the most prestigious event for this game, the International, boasting a prize pool of over $10 million this year.
10 million.
Dollary dues!
I'll do my best to explain things pertaining to Dota 2 as they come up, so you're not confused also. While there's a lot of skill, training and dedication required from the professional players, it can be difficult to properly prepare for RNG elements. Many of the selectable characters in the game known as heroes have abilities where RNG dictates whether it triggers or not, which in turn can make the effectiveness of some heroes unreliable. These can range from critical strikes, which do more damage than a regular attack, stuns, which renders an enemy unable to do anything while interrupting their own abilities, and in most cases will deal bonus damage, evasion which dodges attacks, and an assortment of other unique hero-specific abilities. Then you get to the map itself, where there's rune spawns which grant heroes temporary bonuses, neutral creep spawns in the jungle areas of the map, and deeper things such as, let's just say, a boss enemy known as Roshan. Judging from this, there are a lot of factors when it comes to the outcome of multiple scenarios possible in Dota and other games of a similar nature. So one has to question whether heavy RNG elements are fair. On one hand, you have a player knowingly taking the risk that RNG will work enough in their favor for them to be successful, while on the other, you have the argument that player skill should be the only deciding factor for the outcome of a game. Let's take a recent engagement I had in Dota. I was a hero named Sniper while the other was Drow Ranger. The only way I'm going to win this fight is reliant on RNG, as the Drow has more damage and attack speed than I do. I have an ability called Headshot, which has a 40% chance to stun the target and deal bonus damage. I need enough of these to trigger to come out on top, while Drow has no significant RNG factors while attacking me. Despite both of us dying, I was the one who actually came out on top due to receiving both experience and a gold bounty for the kill, whereas Drow only received gold as she was dead before her final arrow killed me. Now this is just one of what seems like an infinite amount of things which can affect the outcome in Dota, but let's move on. Moving into more general territory, shooters. Now it may not seem like your average run-of-the-mill shooters have much RNG, but you'd be mistaken. While the impact is certainly smaller, there are elements which can alter outcomes. If you take the simple mechanic of bullet spread, which involves weapons possessing a cone of fire where the projectiles being shot are distributed in a random point within this cone, which is usually displayed on the crosshair where it becomes more unpredictable the further you're away from the target. It has a more significant impact in games where specific areas of the player take more or less damage depending on where they're hit, so a straight bullet in the face would be to a much higher detriment than in the foot. Counter-Strike Global Offensive, for example, has different damage variables between shots to the head and neck, stomach, chest and arms, and legs. Considering this is further made unpredictable by recoil, you've got yourself a lot of luck required if you don't control the weapon properly.
Yeah. Get right. How did he spray like that? Just far away. It's not possible.
Bullet spread lends credence to the phrase spray and pray, where a player using a high rate of fire weapon just unleashes that shit without giving a fuck and might even kill something. It's an attempt to simulate realism, especially for the highly popular military shooters. Gamers have generally accepted this mechanic, and it enforces variation in the use of the weapons, like with short controlled burst firing to heighten accuracy. It's unreasonable to suggest that all of the weapons should have identical spread patterns, or even that each of the same weapons have a uniform or predictable pattern, as this would somewhat hinder the chaotic nature of high rate of fire weapons, a complete opposite to the precision required from others. Another thing is spawn points, which are randomized to varying degrees depending on the game, can place you in a less or more favorable position for timing and entry paths when re-entering the action. Spawn camping is still something that can occur in modern games, and remember kids, it's only funny when it's not happening to you. I'm sure you'd like to apply some RNG elements to real life, which you want down to luck. While it certainly can feel that way where the interaction of an average human cannot change the outcome of something like the weather, then there's lesser things where someone could have taken preventative measures for, but would like to blame bad luck, like your pet deciding the expensive relative sport is an optimal shitting and or vomiting area. You can look at real life card games like poker, where a lot of people who aren't familiar with it would think that the luckiest players win, as in who gets dealt the best hands the most over the course of a game. While this is certainly a favourable position to be in, professional players of the game very much apply strategy to outplay their opponents and don't rely on the RNG of the shuffle for success.
In a heads-up match, the size of your stack is almost as important as the quality of your cards. I chopped one of his legs out in the first hand. Now all I have to do is lean on him.
Check.
Until he falls over. Jack's up.
They're good. Good hand. Catching that jack on the turn, you got lucky there.
Yep, it was luck.
Which leads me to probably the most important factor when it comes to the fairness of RNG, that it can provide an edge while also a detriment. And ultimately, player skill along with experience should trump it. A player who deems themselves unlucky will constantly feel cheated when other players receive more favourable returns on an RNG element, but that can be relative to the general player mentality, where failure in a game can cause players to grasp at several excuses in an attempt to lessen the impact of it, such as being unlucky or fucking lag! On the flip side, however, experienced players may take some comfort in the fact that they were simply unlucky and weren't specifically outplayed or outskilled, which I'm sure will reduce the impact on their ego. It's near impossible to go over all the games you've played where RNG factors are active and deem whether it has ultimately helped or screwed you over more or less times. As I said earlier, if you engage in a game, no matter how great the impact of RNG within it, you knowingly take the risk that while it may work in your favour, it may also not. But hey, that's the point of taking a chance, right?